Public Schools' latest announcement for Phase 2 of their learning plan, which is to continue with the current way things are. High school and middle school students continue with at-home schooling and younger kids in a hybrid model. I spoke with the chair of the Rochester School Board late this afternoon about this. And to look more in depth at the fact that there are no changes, Deborah, with the current model, why put out an announcement? Are you and other school board members getting pressure from parents to get students back in schools?
We certainly are getting some pressure for sure, and have been, since late August, really. But we had told the community that we were going to really keep looking at the data and having these discussions, and then really after the MEA break was kind of our next natural decision point. And so that's why at our COVID advisory team meeting on Thursday, we really dug into this discussion on if we were able to make a change right now.
That's what I was wondering, if there was a meeting that was recent for you to be able to put this out there and say, here's what's going on, here's why we're not making changes. For parents who want to know why the changes aren't being made, we know it's because the number of cases are going up, have gone up, but explain to them so that they understand that you're putting safety first.
Of course, we are putting our safety of our students and our staff first. And so having our, we've learned a lot as our students have been in school. And we really appreciate that Graham Briggs from Public Health and Dr. Crane from Mayo Clinic are part of our COVID advisory team. We meet every 2 weeks. And they really talk about not just the numbers, but also the research that they're seeing emerge. Now, we've seen some really positive things that in our younger students, there is not a lot evidence of student-to-student transmission. So that's great news for our younger learners and our elementary staff. However, our older students, our secondary students, we are seeing that transmission student to student. I'm sure folks have seen this in the news in other places, and they are just have that ability to spread the virus a little bit more efficiently. And so that not only the numbers, but that fact is really weighed into our decision.
How long of a time period, Deborah, will you wait when cases start going down before changes then get made to the current model?
So we discussed yesterday, we were kind of had a next decision point in about 6 weeks. Now, if something happens where cases, really take a nosedive and we're not seeing infection rates or case rates, if that happens, we absolutely have the ability to say, we think we can bring the students in. The whole time in the background, our internal staff, our building principals, and our teachers are trying to figure out, all right, if we go to hybrid, what will that look like for our students? What will that transition look like? And so we do have some built-in time. The governor has given us 5 days to make a transition. But if things are looking good, there is no reason that we will wait 6 weeks to make that change. So as we keep talking about, if everybody does what we know helps, right? Wearing masks, social distancing, washing hands, and we can bring those infection rates down in our county, we can get our students back much more quickly.
But how long are you thinking once cases start going down? Is it 6 days, 2 weeks that they stay at a certain level before you decide that?
Yeah, I'm not really sure we have an answer to that. We're looking at this 2-week rolling average of cases. And of course, Mr. Briggs is day by day looking at the case numbers. So we look at the testing, the positive cases. We also look at if there's a strain on our medical system. Do we have ICU beds, hospitalization? Where are those rates looking? And so kind of all those factors come into play. It's not just a case number, it's kind of the system around the numbers that we have to look at before we make any decisions.
I have some questions about technology, students who may still be struggling with having the technology they need, and I have some questions about teachers. If you can hang on with me for just a couple of minutes, we'll take a quick break, come back and address those questions at that time. The conversation about Rochester Public Schools staying on the current learning model with secondary students, those in the high school, being at home, doing at-home learning, while the elementary students and some middle school students are in a hybrid situation, a couple of days at home, a couple of days at school. There haven't been any changes made. We're talking about the fact that there's an announcement that no changes were being made at this time because the number of virus cases in Olmsted County are still at a point where we don't want to see any more spread, especially among students and into teachers. Deborah Seelinger is the chair of the Rochester School Board. And when I said before the break, Deborah, that I wanted to talk about teachers, I know that in some districts, there are teachers, the teachers union, that did not want to see any in-person learning when school started because of the transmission rates. But some schools opted to have either a hybrid learning model or all students in school Monday through Friday. Then they switched because cases went up. Your teachers, what are you hearing from them? Where are their concerns right now?
You know, we know that our teachers are really working hard to meet the needs of our students. We're keenly aware that the mental health of our staff, our teaching staff, and all our staff, but our teaching staff is really critical. And so we've put some things in place to help support them. I haven't had a lot of feedback personally as a board member about struggles that teachers are having, but that's why we are really being intentional about gathering feedback. And so kind of how can we continuously improve this process, which is an imperfect process to begin with. So we have a staff survey out, and we have some parent surveys out and coming out. We want to know what staff need, how we can support them. We've made some adjustments already in the elementary school. So students are getting out a little bit earlier to give teachers a little bit more time working in the hybrid with their students in class and then their students who are at home that day. So we're trying to make as many adjustments as we can to support the teacher's workload and, of course, the stress of this new model and trying to figure everything out for all their students.
You know, at the beginning of the pandemic, there were struggles to make sure that everyone with the students had the technology for at-home learning. Has that gap been filled? Does every student have the technology they need?
You know, I think we're pretty close, if not fully fully implemented devices for all our students. We've worked really hard on that. We've had, a needs assessment for every family. Do you need a device? What else do you need? The devices, of course, as you know, aren't the only problem, right? Then we have to talk about internet access, hotspots, affordability of internet access. We're thankful to the HRA for putting some Wi-Fi in some of our public housing. We, I think, are looking at buying some hotspots to help get the access to students and families who need it. And so it just becomes a bigger and bigger issue other than devices. So we continually work on that. And, we ask our parents if they're having any problems, please reach out to your building, your teacher, your principal to ask for support. We're also I'm seeing some schools just have kind of drop-in drive up sort of technology help. I think Riverside was one of the ones I saw. And so we're trying to support those needs any way we can. And I think we're also looking at, I believe Superintendent said, looking at kind of a hotline program. So folks could just call in and say, I don't even know, I don't know what's going on today with the computer. I can't get in, my kid can't get in.
I know it's hard. Even before the pandemic, the achievement gap was such that it made the news quite a bit. We were closing in on that gap here in Olmsted County, and our students were doing better. And then this happened, and this is really hard for some students to learn at home. So I feel for the teachers and what's going on in some of the schools, and I know that y'all are feeling the pressure from parents to get those kids back in school, but sometimes that just isn't possible.
For sure.
All right, Deborah, I really appreciate your time. Thank you for answering some of my questions, and I know that we will probably be back at this in a couple more months.